Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. This is Mr. Fleming coming to you from my bedroom for another math video. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll just jump right into it. Okay. So here we are. So this is Algebra 1. We are like pretty close to the end of the year. So we just have one class left next Monday, but here was this week's class. So I started this week's class with a little bit of a do now, just to comment on, the things that are happening in the United States right now. We're looking at a lot of police brutality and racism towards Black people by the police department. And, a lot of people have been calling for a defunding, or i.e. giving less money to the police department. So they want to reallocate or move money that would have been given to the police department to other offices in the city, like youth engagement. So I found this infographic on Instagram, actually, from the Muslim Justice League here in Boston. And this data is publicly accessible on boston.gov. It's the official budget for the city. So this bar graph shows the budget for Boston next year. The police department gets $400 million. Compare that to, say, like another example, youth engagement, which just gets $8 million. So 400 divided by 8 is 50. So that means the police department gets 50 times the money that an organization like youth engagement gets. And so youth engagement, that's like summer jobs, after school jobs for high schoolers, things like that. So this is the debate we're having. I think it could be good. Okay, so the objectives here for today were students will be able to prepare for their final exam. And today we're going to be reviewing key concepts related to graphing. So I'll just do some quick announcements, then we'll do some examples that you're going to see on the final, including point slope form, same slope, and then systems of equations. So the homework this week, there is a Google Forms quiz online. It is a practice quiz for the final. If you take this, it's going to make your exam experience a lot easier because you're going to know what to expect. And I'm offering extra credit for it, so please, please, please do it. Also, we have only a little bit left until next Wednesday. And that's the last day I can accept work. So if you are working on Delta Math, please continue working on it. Do the word problem assignment, do the how-to project, try to wrap it up and finish strong, okay? So as I said, all quarter 4 work is due next Wednesday, which is June 17th, and our final is on June 19th. Now, by this time, everybody should have an exam time. So I'm going to be posting that a little bit later. So look for that on Google Classroom. All right, so yes, so we're going to get to same slope. All right, so here we are. So which of these three have the same slope? So, in Algebra 1, we learned how to find the slope by looking at 3 different things. So the first thing I'm going to start with is this equation. We know that the equation is in the form y equals mx plus b. The m represents slope, and that's going to be the number in front of the x. So in this case, it's going to be -3. Awesome. Now for the graph, the best thing to do is to find 2 points where the graph exactly cuts through. So I see that it cuts to this point right here and this point right here. So I'm gonna just look at my coordinates and figure out which point this is. So I know we always start with the horizontal coordinate first, so it's gonna be 0. And then I go up 4, so it's 0, 4. Then I go over here, and I'm going to the left 1, which is at -1, and then I go up 1, which is +1. Okay, so now that I have 2 points, I can find the slope. So I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So, if it helps you out, label your points. So I'll do x1, y1, x2, y2. Perfect. So y2 is 1 and y1 is 4. So 1 minus 4. And then x2 is -1 and x1 is 0. So -1 minus 0. 1 minus 4, remember, is going to be -3. and then -1 minus 0 is just -1. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and so we're left with a slope of 3. All right, so we just have one left, and that is the table. But before we do the table, I do want to show another method that you can use to find the slope from a line. So you notice that we have these 2 points, right? So you can draw a triangle and figure out the rise and the run. So I'm going to draw a little triangle going up from 1 and then 2, 4, just like that. And I noticed that the line goes up by 3 units. So 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. So that's up by 3. And then I see that it's going to the right, which is, remember, right is positive, right by 1. So I know that slope is rise over run. So if it's up 3, positive 3, and right to the 1, so that's positive 1, 3 divided by 1 is 3. So that's another way you can do that. Okay, let's go to the table now. So for the table, you can use the same strategies you would with the graph. Choose 2 points and do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So I'm gonna make my 0, 0, x1, y1, because that's gonna make my life really easy. Awesome. So then I'll just kind of plug it in. So I'll have -3 minus 0, y2 minus y1, and then 1 minus 0. So that's -3 over 1, which is just -3. So I know now that number 2 and number 3 have the same slope. Perfect. Okay. So that is the first question. We have one more example of this, so hold on. And again, pause the video and take your notes if you would like to. I'm gonna go clear this now. And we're gonna move on. Okay, so here is the second example. So here we are. Which of these have the same 3 slope? Okay, well, this one is the easiest because I know that the slope is whatever number is in front of that x in the equation. So the slope here is -2/3. Okay, then I go to my graph and I see these 2 points here. It crosses here and it crosses here. So I look at the points and I say, okay, this is 3 to the right, positive 3, and then it stays at 0. So that's that one. And then this point stays at 0, 0 on the horizontal, and then -2 goes down 2 on the vertical. So, if I do, I'll label my points because it always helps me. It's pretty easy to get confused, I think, sometimes. So that's why I usually do this. So I'm gonna have, what is it, y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. So then I'm gonna left with -2 over -3. The negatives are going to cancel out because negative divided by negative is positive, and we're going to leave it as a fraction, so the slope is 2/3. Okay, so then you just have the chart left. But again, if you wanted to do the triangle method, also works. You see we're going up by 2, and then to the right by 3. So rise is 2, run is positive 3. So yeah. Back to the table. I'm going to choose the 0 point because that's, going to be easier. Okay, so, you can go ahead and do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. y2 is 3, y1 is 1, and then x2 is 3, x1 is 0, so that's 2 over 3. So, so then we know the answer is 1 and 3. Perfect. So there's one other trick that you can use to do this is I noticed that the equation has a negative slope. I see that the graph is going up this way, which is a positive slope. As x increases, y increases as well. The table is also the same. You notice that x is increasing and y is increasing. If the numbers are both increasing, that means it's a positive slope. If you had the x values were increasing, but the y values were decreasing, then you know it's a negative slope. So just something to be aware of. Okay, so again, if you want to take your notes, pause the video here, and I'm going to move on. Okay. So the next thing, the question that's definitely going to be in exam is finding the equation of a line from a point slope equation. So let's see. So when you see that here are your multiple choice questions, you notice that the slopes are all the same, which is great. You don't have to calculate slope, but you will have to calculate the slope, the points that these 4 lines go through. So if you're thinking of the point slope equation, you know that the, the formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where x1 comma y1 is just represents the numbers of the point on the line. And m is the slope here. So just be careful of these negatives, because say if you have y minus y1, right? If you see y minus 5, you know that the y point is going to be 5, right? It's y minus y1. But if you see y plus 5, this is actually the same as y minus negative 5, because remember, when you subtract a negative number, it's the same as adding it. So your y coordinate for a y plus 5 is going to be y equals negative 5. So be aware of that. So I'm going to look at all these points here, and then I'm going to just use what I know to find the points. So I'm looking for -1 and 3, because that's where this line crosses. So I'm just going to go through. So I'll start with the x. So x minus 1. So x coordinate is 1. Y coordinate is -3. Remember, it's the opposite if you see the plus. For b, x coordinate's -1, because it's x minus -1, and then the y coordinate is 3. For c, the x coordinate is -1, and the y coordinate is -3. And then for d, I noticed that the x coordinate is going to be 1, and then y coordinate is going to be 3, right? So I compare the point on the graph and our points that we found from the equation, and I noticed that -1 and 3, well, that's going to be B. Awesome. So we're going to move on, take a picture, or pause the video to take some notes, and we're going to keep moving. So we're going to do one more example of this. And so what is the equation of this line? So again, the slopes are the same, right? They're all 2, so you don't have to worry about slope. But we're going to just use our equation, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, just like that. And so we're going to work through this. Remember that if we see a positive number, that's going to mean a negative point. So x plus 4, -4, y plus 2, -2. Okay. X plus 4 is -4, y minus 2 is just 2. X minus 4 is 4, y plus 2 is -2. And then for D, I see x minus 4, that's 4, y minus 2 is 2. So the point I'm looking for, I think, is right here. So it's going to be 4 on the horizontal, 4 for the x coordinate, and then -2 for the y coordinate. 4, -2. And that's going to match letter C. So that's your answer. Pretty cool. Again, pause to take some notes, and I'm moving on. Okay. So the next thing is systems of equations. So you have to know how to solve systems of equations graphically. You might think this is easy, but the only thing that might trip you up is just working around a coordinate plane, working around a graph. So I'll go back to drawing, and I noticed that the solution is, where lines cross or intersect, right? Also, system of equations is a fancy word for two lines. Not much at all, right? So I noticed that these two lines cross right here, which is great. So then the point that I'm going to give as my answer, I'll start with the horizontal, which is 1, right? And if you need to, don't mind that line. If you need to, you can draw like a line to the X and Y axis, just to make sure that you know what point it is. So I notice it's 1 on the horizontal, 1 on the X axis, and 4 on the Y axis. So this is your answer. Always write it as a point. Okay, so pause if you need to, and we're moving. Okay. So the next thing that's definitely going to be on the exam is substitution, or when you have to solve a systems of equations using substitution. There's going to be no elimination on the exam, so consider yourself lucky. So going back here, we're looking at the solution, i.e. in this case, remember where the lines cross, or a point, which means an X and a Y point, or point meaning numbers that work for both, right? So we're looking for an X and Y point, or some numbers for X and Y that work for both of these equations. So this is just two equations, right? So for substitution, we notice that this Y is already alone. So I can replace everything after the equal sign, this 3x minus 1. And I'm going to draw an arrow to the Y in the second equation, because I'm going to replace that Y with the 3x minus 1, because I know that they're equal. So I'm going to write the second equation again, but this time instead of Y, I'm going to write in parentheses what's after the equal sign there, what I circled. 3x minus 1 equals negative 18. All right, so the next step is to just solve for x, because it's hard to solve for two variables, but we can easily solve for one. So 2x, 2 times 3 is 6, so 2x plus 6x minus 2, right? Because 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 equals negative 18. So I'm going to combine these terms. So 2 plus 6 is 8. So I'm left with 8x minus 2 equals negative 18. And then I'll add 2 on both sides. And I'm left with, write it over here, 8x equals negative 16. So to get rid of a coefficient in front of the x, I have to divide, because that's 8 times x. And negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. Great. So now that I have my x, I'm going to plug in the number for x into one of the equations and then solve for y. I'm going to do the easier equation, which is the top one. So we'll do y equals 3, and I know that x is negative 2 now, so I'll write that in parentheses, minus 1. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, and then if you subtract a negative number, it's going to be more negative, so negative 7. So your answer should always be in point form. So you're going to write the x-coordinate first, negative 2, and then the y-coordinate, negative 7. So this is your final answer for substitution. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Please pause if you want to take some notes. And yeah, just one more example of substitution. Okay. Great, so here's the next one, and I think this one's even a little bit easier. So again, we know that we see that y is alone, so I'm going to circle everything after the equal sign of that y, and I'm going to draw an arrow to the y in the second equation. So I'm going to rewrite the second equation again, 3x minus 2 multiplied by 3x, write it in parentheses, equals 12. I replace the y with the 3x. So then I'm just gonna, distribute here. So 3x, negative 2 times 3 is, what is that? Negative 6, right? Equals 12. So 3x minus 6x, think of 3 minus 6 is going to be negative 3. X equals 12. You divide by negative 3 on both sides. and you see that x is going to equal -4, right? Positive divided by negative equals negative. So I'm going to plug in x back into one of the equations and solve for y. The top equation is just much easier, and I'm lazy, so I'm going to do that. So y equals 3 instead of x, -4. Y equals -12. Okay. And now you have to write your answer as a point. Y equals -4, comma 12 with x, comma y. Perfect. Remember, if you have to find the 2 points for these systems of equations, you can't just stop at the x. So just a tip. All right. And so that is, I think, it for today. Pause the video if you want to take some notes. But otherwise, I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. Keep on studying for the final. It's next Friday. So you guys got this. All right. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.